Hello, guys, and welcome to Rise. I am so delighted to have with us today Dr. Marty Klein, who is a sex therapist, author, educator, and public policy analyst. He has spent his career supporting the healthy sexual expression of men, women, and couples in a wide range of ways. He has been a licensed marriage and family therapist and certified sex therapist for over 35 years and has focused his entire career towards a single set of goals: telling the truth about sexuality, helping people feel sexually adequate and powerful, and supporting the healthy sexual and intimate expression and exploration of women and men. Marty has written 7 books, published in 11 languages, and he has also written chapters in many professional books, such as the Handbook of Clinical Child Psychology, Treating Sexual Disorders, and the International Encyclopedia of Sexuality. Welcome, welcome, Dr. Marty.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
It's such great to have you and your wisdom sharing with our audience today, because I really know with every cell of my being that sexuality is really non-negotiable. This is our life force energy. This is how we came to the world, and this is how we express ourselves, not only in sex, but in everything else we do, right? Yeah.
We're very passionate about the subject.
Yes, I am. And especially, coming from feeling broken, feeling a mess, feeling disconnected for many years due to sexual abuse, as in my childhood years, and really, coming to a point where I just knew I can't live life like that. I can't live disconnected from my body, disconnected from my sexuality. There was a lot of suffering in that. And it's only when I had the courage to step into the sexual healing journey that I discovered not only the power of sexuality and of course the bliss and ecstasy and all that, but also the deeper connection and intimacy to my own body, right? And yeah, I would love to hear from you. Let's dive right in, about how sexuality can be actually the healing force, the very healing energy in our journey.
Well, as you know, there's lots of rules in life. We have to stop at red lights and go on green lights, and we have to go to our jobs, which have rules. And there are a lot of activities where in everyday life, there are a lot of activities where we have to do things the right way. And if we don't, there's a lot of trouble. And sexuality is one of the very, very, very few arenas in life where there are no rules and you can't get into trouble. Really the only thing we need to protect ourselves about is unwanted pregnancy. If you have that covered, either because of your age or because of you're using a birth control method or because you don't have penis vagina intercourse, if you have the unwanted pregnancy thing covered, nothing can go wrong in sex. Two people can decide that whatever we do is okay. We have an orgasm, we don't have an orgasm, you have an erection, you don't have an erection. Two people can create an experience of perfection, an experience of ease, an experience of acceptance, not only of each other, but each person for themselves. And so sexuality can be a place where people can go and have healing experiences from shame, from trauma, from violence. And it doesn't cost anything and you can't gain weight from it.
Quite the contrary can happen, right? But I think the main point here is really about consent, right? it really needs to be a mutual consent to begin with.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Right. And I mean, from my experience and also working with many clients, I know that sexuality is also the place where past trauma, past wounds, abandonment issues, you name it, can be triggered, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that's sort of the other side of how powerful sexuality is. It's so powerful that it can be a context for healing, and it's so powerful it can be a context for shame and for unwanted memories, for unwanted feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it all the more important that people be able to experience their sexuality with a sense of authenticity and a sense of presence. You know, if a person is really present, there is no room for unwanted memories. There is no room for shame if people are really, really present. Now, of course, it's not easy to accomplish, but part of your work, part of my work, part of every clinician's work is helping people be more present during sexuality. Be more present means to not have judgments about your body, to not have unrealistic expectations, to not carry things into a sexual experience that don't belong there. To just have a sexual experience, whether that involves genitalia or not, whether that involves passionate arousal or not, that's really not the point. The point is to be really present.
Right. And I mean, as individuals living in our culture, we have been so little educated about sexuality and about the colorful arena, right? The expressions of sexuality. And most of us embark on that journey with very little knowing and with a lot of wrong messaging coming from the media, coming from society, you know, past, say, religious dogmatization and all of that. So how do we let go of all those messaging that is really standing in our way to feel that freedom to express?
Well, I suppose that part of it is to realize that we develop our sexuality when we're very young, when we can't possibly understand things in an adult way. And you know, if a 14-year-old came to my door and offered to wash my car, I would think, you know, at 14, I don't know that I want to trust my car to you. On the other hand, it's when we're 14 that we develop our ideas about sex. Many people are having sexual experiences when they're 14. So I think we need to have, each person needs to have an understanding that whatever ideas you have about sexuality now, as a 25-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 75-year-old, probably originated when you were just an ignorant kid. And I think that's the first step. Now, one of the difficulties that we have as adults is that when we develop our ideas about sexuality, when we're 14 and 16 and 18, we have very unusual bodies. We have bodies that are unusually healthy, unusually strong, unusually healthy, unusually powerful. And if we develop our ideas about sexuality when we have these unusual bodies, and then as we go through the lifespan, we don't have those unusual bodies anymore. You're not as flexible at 50 as you were when you were 18. You're not as strong. Your body's not as strong typically when you're 35 as it was when you were 20. So as our bodies go through the life cycle, our ideas about sexuality have to change as well. And so to answer your question, I think people have to have a more realistic connection with their own bodies. And what I encourage people to do is to ask yourself, what do you actually want to feel during sex, and what do you actually want to do during sex? Don't tell me about good sex. Don't tell me about glamorous positions. Tell me about you as you are today and what makes sense for you today. I think a lot of us have to grieve the loss of our 20-year-old bodies. We have to grieve the loss of the confidence that 20-year-olds have. My body can do anything. When you're 45 years old, your body can't do everything that it could do when it was 20. So in grieving the loss of the bodies that we had when we were developing our ideas about sex, that's an important thing to do.
Right. And I mean, if you talk about self-image, that's definitely a very problematic topic for many, especially women, being very self-criticizing and again, all these false beauty idols that we've been fed as how the ideal body should look like, which is really far removed from the expansiveness of beauty, that nature presents us with. And I know that, so many women, when they're younger, they really don't appreciate their great bodies, and only when they grow a little older and their bodies are not the same anymore, they maybe hopefully have a more comfortable relationship with their body. But this is not a given, right? There is some inner work that needs to be done. And
Yes.
right, much about self-acceptance and self-care and self-love. And so really, I think that's probably the foundation to have a pleasant sexual experience, is to really feel comfortable in your own skin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to realize that the quality of a sexual experience, the quality of the sexual experiences that we have, is not a function of what your body looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You feel inside your body. So there are people whose bodies are not conventionally attractive on the outside, but on the inside, if a person is present and is enthusiastic and feels connected with the person that they're with, then they can have a wonderful sexual experience. No matter how conventionally beautiful a person is on the outside, if they don't feel comfortable, it's almost impossible to have a good sexual experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And
I have a lot of patients who they're planning that they're going to have a great sex life the second they lose 10 pounds. And frequently that doesn't happen at all.
Mm-hmm.
But even if it happens a year from now, does that mean that you're not eligible for enjoyable sex for the next 12 months? That's pretty sad. And then people wake up one day and they're 45 years old and they say, well, gee, I don't look the way that I used to, and my breasts sag, or, I have hair where I don't want it, and I don't have hair where I do want it. I say to people, it's not like tomorrow you're going to wake up and be 25 years old. So you better figure out a way to feel eligible for enjoyable sex at whatever age you are. And by the way, at whatever age you're going to be.
Because it ain't getting better. I mean,
well, not everybody feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, the blunt truth is that the body is decaying, right? The body is dying slowly. That is just the truth. Right. This is the foundation, realization that we have to accept that we are here in this body for a very limited amount of time. We don't know how long it can be. It can end today. Right. And it can last for another 20, 30, 50 years, but at the same time, it will not last forever. And the body is aging. This is just another truth. And and how do we make peace with that aging process and still feel great inside? And how can we also learn to, because really the way I see real beauty is beauty that comes from the inside out, right? Because when somebody feels at home in their body, that energy vibrates out. You can't, it does not have to do with any external features like the size of your hips or, the sagginess of your breasts. It's really an energy, a comfortable energy that radiates out. And I think that many, many times we are more criticizing ourselves than the partner that we are with, right? We place in more damaging thoughts about our body parts than actually our partner. And if we bring it into the sexual experience, then that's definitely a stumbling stone, right? It's an hindrance.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so what is your kind of course of action? What is your suggestion for a couple or a person that wants to experience better connection, better sexuality?
Well, I think it starts with slowing down. I think it starts with slowing down and actually feeling in the body whatever sexual activities or whatever physical activities people are doing. In my clinical experience, many people are so concerned about, are things going to go right, that they don't feel what's actually going on. A lot of people, in my experience, they're concerned about their partner's judgments, as you just said. And so let's say your partner touches you here, and it would be nice if you actually felt that. But if you're concerned, oh, my partner is touching me here, and my partner is thinking, gee, that's a flabby part of your body, or gee, that's an unattractive part of your body. If a person is thinking, oh, my partner is imagining, or my partner is judging, that's an unattractive part of my body, they're not actually going to feel that very much. They could go through the motions, but they won't actually be feeling this very much. And I think that a lot of people, they have sexual experiences that last 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 25 minutes. They don't feel it that much because they're thinking so much about what does this mean and what's going to happen next, and what is my partner thinking, and what do I look like, what do I smell like, what do I sound like. And the more that people are concerned about that stuff, the less they're going to experience the actual touch, the less they're going to experience the movement of energy in their bodies. Mm-hmm. And so it sounds so simple, and it is simple, but it's not easy. But it sounds so simple to say, slow down and feel what's actually going on with your body during sex. I get that with a lot of men with their erections. A lot of men come to me. One of the things I do for a living is I help guys who have trouble with their erections. And I ask them, do you actually feel your penis during sex? And a lot of guys look at me and say, what are you talking about? Because they're thinking so much about, is it enough? Am I going to lose it? Is it as big as the last penis this woman or this man I was with? People are thinking so much and worried about their adequacy so much that they don't actually feel what's going on. One way to lose your erection is to not have any feeling in your penis, right? So if people aren't paying enough attention to what's actually going on in their body, how enjoyable can sex be? So to answer your very practical question, okay, what should people do? Number one, slow down. Number two, feel what's actually going on in your body. And there's no need to do something else if you're enjoying what's happening now. If you're not enjoying what's happening now, then change what's happening now. If your neck is at a bad angle when you're doing something, then stop and change the positions of the bodies. If you're right-handed, but your right hand is trapped under your side and all you can do is move your left hand, say, wait a second, I want to. So that assumes, of course, that people are willing to talk to each other about their experience. And in my book, Sexual Intelligence, I talk about how the two keys to making sex more enjoyable is self-acceptance and communication. If you can't say to your partner, I'd like to do this differently, basically, you're just hoping to be hit by lightning instead of guiding the experience. Every once in a while, you can get hit by lightning, but it's not a very reliable method. So the practical things to do are slow everything down, be more present and feel what's happening in your body, and then communicate with the other person to help shape the encounter. Shape the encounter. Wait. Don't stop doing that. I'm enjoying that. Or, okay, I've had enough of that. Let's do something else. Or, wait a second, I have to go to the bathroom. Don't go away. I'll be right back. The number of people who ask me every year, what should I do if I have to pee in the middle of sex? Is just astounding. Nobody ever says, what should I do if I have to go to the bathroom in the middle of dinner? Nobody ever asks me, what should I do if I have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the Super Bowl? But people ask me, what should I do if I have to go to the bathroom in the middle of sex? And my answer is not. I think you should get up and go to the bathroom during sex. My answer is, why do you think you need a special rule for that? How is it that you already don't know the answer to that question?
Right. So it really comes down to feelings of shame around it, right? I mean, this is in sexuality, this is where we get naked, not only no clothes on, but also naked soul-wise.
Hopefully.
Exactly, hopefully. And yeah, I mean, first of all, people that have been through some kind of abuse or some kind of sexual wounds, many times they don't want to go there. They've got a blockage or they feel disconnected. I know that for myself, I've been doing sex from this part up for many years. Sex was only in my head. I had to use fantasies to get me aroused, and only fantasies would keep me engaged, and everything was happening in my head. And it took me a lot of work to actually start embodying myself to the rest of my body. And breath was one tool that definitely helped me to get grounded, to get embodied. But it's so many of us are there that I really just want to open up that conversation so people won't feel that they are alone. Because yeah, I mean, sexual wounds is an epidemic. The statistics are very high of what we know, and there's a lot that we don't know. But even if there was no direct sexual abuse in this lifetime, there's still the cultural kind of upbringing that we all imagine from, right? Which, as I said, contains almost no education and a lot of wrong messaging, and of course the porn. And I know that you're doing a lot of work around the porn industry, right?
Yes. Yes. My most recent book is called His Porn, Her Pain, Confronting His Porn Panic with Honest Talk About Sex. My book about pornography. And there's a lot to complain about when it comes to pornography, but what I would like is for people, what I want to help people do is to be more honest about, so what exactly is it that this conversation is about? When say a heterosexual woman says to her husband or her boyfriend, I want you to stop watching porn. I want you to stop watching porn. What exactly is she trying to accomplish? What is she trying to accomplish? If what she's trying to accomplish is, I want you to be more present when you have sex with me, or if what she's trying to accomplish is, I want you to appreciate my body exactly the way that it is, or if what she's trying to accomplish is, I want you to put some thought into supporting your desire for me sexually, then let's talk about those things directly, rather than using pornography as a vehicle for indirectly and not very effectively talking about those things. Now, those things are a lot harder to talk about than, I want you to stop watching porn. I don't want to stop watching porn. Well, I want you to stop watching porn. That's an easy conversation to have. It's unpleasant, but anybody can have that conversation. It's a lot harder to have the conversation. You know, Joe, I feel like you're a million miles away when we have sex, and I would like us to figure out how you can be more present during sex and I can feel more connected to you during sex. That's a more complicated conversation. That's the conversation that people need to be having, rather than, I want you to stop watching porn. I want you to stop watching porn is a solution to a problem, but the problem doesn't get discussed. And it's not a very effective solution anyway. So that's one of the things that I have to say about pornography.
Right. And I think that it's also very helpful to initiate those conversations and also take them maybe out of the bedroom, right? I mean,
yes, of course,
right? You don't want to discuss that while you're having sex.
No, you're absolutely right. I tell people that's the kind of conversation that you want to have when you're having lunch, or that's the kind of conversation you want to have, at 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. People are not motivated very much to have those kinds of conversations unless they're in conflict. When I say to people, when you're getting along really well, why don't you talk about such and such? People say, well, when we're getting along really well, I don't want to mess that up. But that's exactly when you should be talking about these difficult things.
Yeah.
And if you're in the middle of sex and you blindside your partner with, there you go again doing X, or gee whiz, why can't you ever do X? That's probably not going to go very well. Better off to have that conversation when you're both paying attention to each other, looking at each other, calm, getting along and saying, my intention here is for us to have more enjoyable sex, or my intention here is for us to feel closer to each other. My intention here is to understand you better. I got to say, lately when we have sex, you don't look at me, you don't use my name, you don't call me any sweet things. I don't get the feeling that you care very much about being with me, and I would like to figure out what's going on and how to change that. It's a totally different approach than either, damn it, there you go again, or I want you to stop looking at porn.
Right. Yeah, so it's taking those conversations that we might be quite hesitant to open, like almost a Pandora box, right? Or, things might come up, and it might maybe other issues will surface, right? Because it's all interconnected,
right?
But from your understanding and from your observation, when one of the partners are obsessed with porn, is that a real problem to the relationship, or is it something that can be integrated into the relationship?
Well, when one partner in a relationship is obsessed with anything, it's a challenge to the relationship, whether it's playing golf, or whether it's redecorating the house, or whether it's making sure that the kids make the swim team, or whether it's being the president of the PTA. When one partner in a relationship is obsessed about anything, it's a challenge to the relationship. And porn is no different. There are people who are misusing porn, or there are people who are using porn in self-harming ways. There are people who are using porn in ways that hurt the relationship. But before I get to that, I do want to mention that for people who don't use porn, for people who never look at porn, the fact that their partner looks at porn can be very confusing. And if somebody never looks at porn and has no interest in it, and their partner looks at it, say, twice a week, they may think my partner is obsessed with porn. They may think, why does my partner need porn? And if you really want to understand your partner's relationship to porn, you should ask them. Instead of telling them that what they're doing is no good, ask them, so tell me what this is all about. Just explain to me what this is all about. And, you know, if you have a halfway decent relationship, if I say to my partner, you know, I know you've been coloring your hair for years. I don't understand why. Would you please explain this to me? My partner would tell me, and I would learn something about my partner. So it's the same thing with porn. If you really, if you want to understand what's going on with this bizarre behavior of your partner looking at porn, ask them. Ask them, not ask them to justify it, not ask them to prove to you that it's okay, not ask them to get your permission to do it, but just ask them, you know, honey, you seem to be interested in this thing. I don't get it. Please explain it to me. And in my experience, people will tell you why they enjoy looking at porn. People know why they like looking at porn, and they will tell you. And that doesn't mean you have to like it. That doesn't mean you don't, maybe you want to negotiate. Could you do it less, or could you do it not at all? Could you do it differently? There's, you know, everything is subject to negotiation in a relationship. In terms of people who are obsessed with porn, you know, there are some people who look at porn way too much. There are some people, they sit down to look at porn at 11 o'clock at night for 10 minutes, and the next thing they know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And obviously, that's a terrible thing. It's not a very good use of a person's time. And what exactly is it that they're getting? And I think for some people, porn is sort of a magic kingdom that they go to. It's a kingdom of abundance. In porn world, there's enough of everything. There's enough breasts, there's enough erections, there's enough time, there's enough of everything that a person could possibly care about, because people select the porn that they want to look at. So people select the porn they want to look at, and then some people, pornland is just so lovely that they don't want to leave, or they get stuck there. They get stuck there. As someone who works a lot with trauma, I think you're familiar with the concept that sometimes people go someplace and they just can't get out. Obviously, with trauma, you know, it can be a lot less pleasant than looking at porn. But I think for some people who, as you put it, are obsessed with porn, they go to this place where there's abundance, where there's validation of their fantasy about sexuality. That sexuality is a place where everything is fine and where nobody is criticizing anybody. And in porn world, everybody's adequate. And in porn world, nobody's complaining about anything. And people may have obsessive compulsive disorder. People may be involved with pornography as a way of medicating their depression. People may be involved with pornography as a way of medicating their anxiety. People may be medicating their bipolar disorder. People may be terribly unhappy in their relationship, and this is the only place that they experience that they're not in trouble with their partner. So none of these is to say that it's a good thing that somebody is over involved with pornography. It isn't a good thing. But I don't think that the pornography is the problem. The pornography is the symptom, right? Mm-hmm. Why would a person be so unhappy or so obsessive that they would get attached to anything for 4 or 5 hours at a time and not even notice that it's the middle of the night? So when someone comes to me with that kind of a situation, I don't start by focusing on the porn any more than if somebody, washes their hands 40 times a day, you don't focus on the hand washing. You focus on the obsessiveness and you investigate what's really going on here. Exactly what is this person so disconnected from themselves about? Obsession is, in some ways, it's about being disconnected from yourself. Why is that? What is it about? How did that happen? If you get hysterical about pornography, you'll never find that out.
Yeah, I like how you pointing out that it's like any other obsession, is just have that kind of maybe expression into the porn world, but it's really trying to feel almost like an inner void, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and trying to feel it from, something from the outside will never really feel it, because
Right.
it always needs to come from the inside out. It's an inner job.
Right.
But there is nevertheless something that is either missing or stuck or unprocessed, or something deeper that is going on inside that seeks that medication by, in this case, watching porn, right?
Watching porn obsessively.
Obsessively, yeah.
Obsessively, right? Which is a different category.
Yeah. But now, from your experience, for me, it's, the world of porn feels like a way that, we again translate sexuality into the mind. We perceive it through the mind, through fantasy. Sometimes it also, if it involves masturbation, and usually it does, then we might lose that sensitivity of touch. It can be too harsh. It can be sometimes even difficult for somebody that is so obsessive with porn to actually be with a life partner. They might be with a life partner and still run the fantasies of the porn in order to connect to the life partner. Do you find that to be so?
Well, yes and no. This is not unique to pornography. I mean, there's lots of people who don't look at porn, but in order to get excited with their partner, they think about a movie star, or they think about their ex-boyfriend, or they think about their next door neighbor. So it's not simply pornography that drags people into a fantasy orientation to sexuality. People who are not comfortable being really, really present during sex, there's no limit to the places that a mind can go, whether it's fantasizing about somebody else, or whether it's fantasizing about violence or coercion, which is very popular among all women in Western culture, whether it's thinking about doing your taxes, whatever it is. If people are uncomfortable being present during sex, they're going to go someplace else mentally if they're going to be sexual. Pornography didn't invent that, and it's not the only place that people go. It's a handy place to go. It's sort of a pre-packaged thing where you don't have to do a whole lot of work. But, before the internet, people were fantasizing about Marilyn Monroe or Clark Gable. And before them, people were fantasizing about sex with Zeus. So the question again is not, how do you prevent people from thinking about porn during sex? The question is, how do you get people to want to be more present? And then how do you teach people the technology for being more present? The technology for being more present is not that difficult. The wanting to be more present during sex, that's more challenging because it's scary. Scary to think, okay, it's going to be just me and just this other person, and no decoration. It's going to be just me and just this other person, no excuses and no no what ifs. It's just the two of us. And we're going to throw the two bodies in the middle of the room, throw all the arms and legs in a pile, and whatever happens, happens. For a lot of people, that's really scary. So my job and your job and the job of all healing people is to help people feel it can be safe to do that. Not because you're the best looking person in the world, not because you're the smartest person in the world, not because you have the best technique in the world, but because sex is a magic place where two people can go and it doesn't matter what happens. It's made for people who are not perfect.
Right. And I would like to add to that in my journey of, diving into the world of Tantra, it really gets a different perspective when we also invite the divine into the bedroom. So it's myself and the other, including the divine, right? When we actually look at sex as sacred, as the energy that can ultimately create life, and that's we all been born from it. And it's the mystery that we don't know, we don't understand, we don't know how to create life ourselves, right? We just know how to use sex for that, and the rest is in the hands of the divine. So yeah, for me,
well, I'm gonna let you handle the divine side of sex. I got something that I'm working on. I'm gonna let you handle the divine side.
Right. Yeah, I found it to be very evolutionary, taking sex to the next level, experiencing it on a different level, in my own experience. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I know that you have a beautiful gift that you want to share with our audience.
You mean besides my wisdom?
Besides your wisdom and besides your beautiful smile.
Yes. I have one of my ebooks is called Bedroom Blues, Therapist Wisdom. And any of our viewers who would like a copy, be happy to give you a digital copy. Just send me an email. It's a real simple address. It's Klein, Klein, at sexed.org, sexed.org. Just send me an email, Klein, Klein, at sexed.org, sexed.org. In the subject line, just put ebook. I'll be happy to send you my ebook, Bedroom Blues, Therapist Wisdom. And if you want to go to my website, same address, it's just www.sexed.org, sexed.org. .org, not .com, .org. .com is something else. But my website, sexed.org, lots of articles and my speaking schedule and some other stuff that I think some people will find valuable and even entertaining.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for accepting the invitation and being here and sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you do in healing the planet. We need more people who are doing that. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, truly. And thank you for the audience. And if you have any questions, feedback, anything that you want to share, please go ahead and share in our Facebook group. Yeah, we would love to hear from you. Thank you so much and blessings on your way. Ciao.